let's talk about something that you've probably never heard of in the marketing world, because probably because I made it up. I made it. I was actually having a good think about this. I'm like, how can I describe this marketing so that people can understand the point that I'm trying to make here? Um, and what I'm going to call it is sample marketing, right? And I'm doing this live because, or this education share with you, because I see it coming up in the industry groups around people questioning whether, when they're about to launch a new service or put something out there for the first time, should they be providing an express version, a cheaper option, a dip your toe in the water, or as I call it, a sample of a service to be able to warm the audience to potentially shifting to more the higher ticket or the higher value offer, right? And there's mixed opinions on that. My opinion is yes, 100% provide the sample offering to be able to ascend people that are interested in that type of service to higher levels of investment, right? Because let's think about the psychology behind purchasing at the moment. If there is a high investment, right, to be, it could be a service that is on the pricier end, whether it be for skin or hair or beauty or whatever it is, someone that's interested can be a little bit turned off by a huge price point, right? There'll definitely be people out there that will pay it up front. They're a little bit more than interested. They're probably won over, those people. They're like 100%, I'm really excited. I want to try this. They could probably much more willingly and able to connect with the value of that high-end service. There is a problem or a concern that's going to be resolved, and they're in. Take my money, basically. But for the majority of your audience, particularly for a very new or innovative service, it's likely that they have not yet built that level of trust or desire for the service. There's probably a little bit of a suspiciousness, particularly if it is new, about the effectiveness of it or whether it's going to work for them or whatever it is. So providing them with an opportunity to sample the experience in express or a segmented or a broken down way means that it reduces some of their risk, right? Their risk of not getting value for money, their risk of time, their risk of effort, their risk of disappointment, all of those anxieties that come up for people when they're considering making an investment in something. So I'm definitely a big fan of, if you've got a higher end service that is new, that you're going to launch into the market, how can you present that in a manner that's less overwhelming for people in terms of price point, time commitment, whatever it is? If the service requires, a number of visits to get the outcome, how can we present something that's still going to have somewhat of an impact in a bite-sized piece for them to consider, investing in a much more what's the word for it? At a higher level, I suppose. So, sample marketing, I believe, is a really good way of increasing the level of volume that you've got coming through your salon or your clinic to sample higher value services or proportions or parcels or sections or express versions of that service. And don't get me wrong, sometimes when you look at a high value service or a more intensive or invasive service, you go, I can't really break this down. Like, how do I, the protocol is this. How do I extract something that represents an element of the service or the treatment for them to be able to have a sample size? This is where you need to get really creative, right? Sometimes when you look at a protocol of an intensive service at face value, it doesn't automatically jump out at you how you might break that down. You've got to get creative. You've got to think outside the box. You've got to, obviously without destroying the efficacy of, or overstating the results, or managing expectations of the client. You don't want someone coming in and expecting the same outcomes as the actual high value service itself, right? You've got to manage all of that, but creating something that allows them to get a taste of, a sample of, I believe is the best way to get traffic through the door. And then you've got that opportunity to ascend them to the higher value service. So there's a couple of things in this. One is it requires you to be creative. It requires you to think outside the box. If you're willing to do that and present the sample service or the express version or the the watered down version of what it is that you're trying to sell, then it removes some of the barrier and the risk for people, and they're much more likely to try it.